long story short, cool drink brand, Latino woman who has raised over 15 million in venture capital, and Bella Hadid is co-founder. So this is a rare combination. First of all, what is the Bella Hadid thing about? How did that happen? And everybody wants to know, like, how do you get someone like this to work with you? What is a deal? Like, what are the economics of getting an A-list celebrity to work with you? And then, like, has it been worth it, right? Like, what do you have to say about this? Tell me everything.
I have been asked this question at least 25 times since we announced the partnership. And being me, I want to be able to help people to craft their strategy as closely. And I'm an open book. I will tell you everything. But I can say it's going to be really tough to recreate the partnership with Bella. And I'm not just saying that to be coy. I'll tell you from the beginning how it worked and then see for yourself. Net, if I had to answer it in like 5 words, I would say, make a great fucking product.
Right.
Put it out there. I think that was
Or don't even try. Focus on other stuff.
Yeah. So I didn't even try. I think being an innovation product and something that was really intent on changing the game, I didn't want to pay a single influencer for their testimonial or their promotion, right? Like, I'm like, if I'm giving you money, you're swayed to say something about the brand. And yes, that's marketing 101. But at the end of the day, I legitimately want real feedback about this product so we can make the best product possible.
And has that happened in reality? You don't pay influencers for UGC or whatever?
We had not paid a single person up until the point where, so Bella and I met through Ari Emanuel. So like the real Ari from Entourage.
Yeah.
And he called me up. Well, he emailed me and his office set up a call for us. And I was like, I thought I was being punked. I wrote my director of finance. I'm like, I guess let's take this call and see what happens.
Yeah.
And it was Ari, and we got on the horn with him, and he just said, look, like, not only do I think what you're doing is next level, he's like, I've been sober X amount of years. I want to personally back this brand on its own merits.
Yeah.
Also have this like tier 1 celeb that I adore, who happens to adore your brand. And to the point where she built a deck to explain to him why she thought it was the perfect partnership for her.
Wow.
Which blew him away. And so that's why he personally got
like she like is working in PowerPoint, like
Google Slides. Google Slides is her preferred.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's not something that I don't know much about her, but it's just hard to imagine. You know, it's like you assume that they just have people doing all this stuff for them, right? Like,
yeah. So I guess you have a couple of things going. You have a great product that someone who happened to be a celeb happened to love. Yeah. You have a global pandemic, which perhaps gave her a little bit more time on her hands than she anticipated to make a deck to begin with.
Right.
Which got
so number
this.
2, start global pandemic.
Yeah. Start global pandemic for a second. And then just be open. I mean, there's so many emails that I get that I think are spam, and we really leaned in here and we said, hey, Ari, by the way, we don't have $1 for celebrity endorsement. Like,
right.
have celebrity money. I've never paid an influencer. Yeah. And he's like, look, this is not that. We want to provide value to you guys.
Yeah.
So I'd stress tested it as hard as I possibly could. And Bella and I talked, and we probably got to know each other for 10 months before we actually signed any documents. So
that's wild. I'm not a celebrity, but I consume a lot of the product.
You do. Yeah. You're definitely one of our number 1 customers. Definitely our number 1 Austin distributor. And we have
distributing right into my pantry in my boat like for all guests to enjoy.
BYO Euphorics. Kin, cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, I don't have any here at the office. So has it been worth it? I remember there was the day the Biebs broke your internet. You know, like, and as I put in my notes, like, people ask me, like, I spent $800,000 buying retention.com. Like, they're like, holy shit, $800,000. I'm like, dude, every single person that I tell what my company is called, their face changes. Like, that's happening every time they see the word written, right? Yeah. There's an assumption that I have 1,000 employees, not 6, right? Like, this is helping me it's like I have been able to recruit people in the last 6 weeks that are of a caliber that I never would have been able to touch if my company were called Get Emails, which it was until 8 weeks ago, right? Like, do you feel that way about this? Is it the same type of question? Like, is it worth it? Like, blah, blah, blah.
Yes. To your point, there is a certain amount of value to this that's intangible. However, when you do have Justin Bieber saying, this is my absolute favorite drink, like point blank, he's not like, this is my favorite drink because my friend is part of it. No, right. He's like, my friend turned me on to this and like, I love this shit. You guys have to go and find it. We didn't pay him. Obviously, he didn't even tag the brand. Right. So it was as organic as it possibly can get. And so there are little intangibles like that just by the virtue of Bella being a part of it, you know, she just, you know, emanates this kin energy to people. Rhianna is a huge fan of the product, which like tickles me too, because, you know, she's a cannabis user. This is public knowledge. And she loves the balanced feeling that she gets from having a spritz and a spliff. It's like perfect combo for her. So
nice alliteration as well.
There you go. I know that we might have to put that on the menu. Yeah. But I think net, it's not about celebrity, right? It's about like literally the hardest working people, the most creative people on the planet that make their living being creative, getting out on stage. It's an adrenaline rush. There's so many layers to this, to these high performing, highly creative people. And that's who we created this product for. Whether you're Rhianna or Adam Robinson, you're thriving because you're getting a boost to your brain. You're getting a creative, fire lit under you throughout your day. And that makes you a better human. I hope that's the goal, at least.
I mean, I love it. I love this and other things. Like, know that I just all of a sudden stopped drinking when I turned 40 unplanned, and I haven't started, and I'm turning 42 in a week or whatever. This movement, which you are stoking, I mean, I just like can't even, like, everything in my life is so much better than when I was just lazily drinking every day and like getting hammered every other weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
And like these products just make it, like last night I was craving a non-alcoholic beer, not a beer. I was like, I want an athletic brew right now. Like something about my throat like needs that hazy IPA flavor. And you know, like we're just so habit and addicted and like everything else. And like, it's just so nice to have these things that like help you do it. And like, not only they help you be sober, it's like other stuff along with it too. I think it's just great.
It makes it tastier, even if you're not quote unquote traditionally sober or abstaining for any reason. It's like the fact that I now am not having 3 glasses of wine a night, which is easy to do, especially living in New York. I mean, you know, those days.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that's why I drank every day, because I lived in New York for 15 years. Like there's nothing, like it's just, if you just are not incredibly proactive about it, that is your life, because that is what you're around, right? Like,
it wasn't until I did the math and I'm like, wow, I've had 23 glasses of wine this week.
So my story about this is a survey went around the trading floor at Lehman Brothers when I was like 26 or 7. And the first page of questions was about your alcohol consumption, the patterns, frequency, quantity, setting, all that stuff. The second set of questions, the second page was all about the sort of tangible effects it has had on relationships, people bringing drinking to your attention about yourself and all that stuff. So like hit submit. And, I was like a really, really functional drinker. I'm way more functional now, but like I was very functional as someone who drank a huge amount, it turned out. Yeah. And like you do a survey like that and it's like, you drink more than 99.9% of Americans. Like that's what it told me. I was like, holy fuck. And like, I don't know how much it was. It was like, I probably had like a normal night was like finish work at 5:30, go to the bar across the street, have 2 beers, then have like a vodka soda, then go to dinner, cocktail before you sit down, waiting for the table, 2 or 3 glasses of wine, nightcap on the way home. That's like so normal.
Totally.
That is a huge amount of alcohol for a normal person, you know? And like that's 7 nights a week, and not even when like the Saturday night comes and like you're having the best time in the world with your friends and you just like send it till 4 a.m, which like
100%.
whatever just happens. But like it was interesting that, you know, it's like you drink more than 99.9% of Americans, but you would not like clinically be considered an alcoholic because like, you know, no one's brought this to your, like you've never missed work, like no one's brought this to your attention. Like, you know, it's like, I think like that survey was drawing the line at when it starts eroding trust and reliability in your life.
Yeah.
Like if you don't stop or somehow curtail it, which if it's eroding trust and reliability in your life, curtailing it, I don't think is an option. I'll be totally honest. You just watch it. You watch what it does to people who are at that point. Anyway, that's my version of what you just said.
Taking stock. Like we don't get that opportunity often enough. To your point, we don't have, it's not a mandate of our friends, especially if they see you quote unquote thriving by all accounts. Yeah. It's like, who am I to tell Adam what to do? He's fucking crushing.
I mean, and like, I remember what pops in my head when you say that. When we were like 25, 26-year-old guys, I was living with these like, you know, Goldman and Lehman guys. We were all crushing it as traders or whatever in New York. Yeah. And like one of them saw a therapist and the therapist was like, you need to quit consuming substances if you want this to do anything, because otherwise you're just in this, you're unable to step outside of your own life and be reflective if you're consuming this. And we're all like, that guy's fucking, you know, it's like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, what does he know? Right. Like, and like, as the sort of wiser, you know, 40 something person, it's like, that's one of the most obvious statements I've ever heard at this point. Like, you know, cause alcohol sort of just like reduces your time horizon or smashes time to zero, right? Like backwards and forwards or whatever. Okay. Enough on sobriety. Thank you for what you're doing. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And the only reason why I bring it up or belabor it is because it's very interesting to see, bringing it back around to Bella, right? Bella is somebody who grew up in Hollywood. She grew up in Malibu, but she grew up in this scene where it was totally normalized. But she came back around the other side because all of her best friends had gone into recovery by the age of 18.
Right.
Like before they were even in drinking age. They had gone through rehab, were sober, boom. Yeah. So now she lands herself this spot where she is a rising star. She's had more book covers than God. And she's in New York, and her job literally requires her to be this social butterfly. But because of her anxiety around substance use and her anxiety around this default mode of drinking and drugging, that is the truth of these environments, right? She like wouldn't leave her house. Like the social anxiety that she had that I've never experienced, right? But here's one brand, one product, one formulation that has helped her with her social anxiety, has given her an excuse to level up in a way that feels authentic to her, right? And still lets her go out and have fun. And for me, it was like, all right, this helps me take a break, you know, 4 or 5 nights a week. And so we all have different stories. We all have different reasons why we come to these solutions or this work for, in my case. But they're all valid. They're all valid. And I think the reason why we named our company Kin is because our intention is to bring people together and for us to feel like family because of our, you know, because of our challenges, because of the things that, you know, are like interests. And I think people had a hard time feeling seen, you know, with some of these conversations, the conversation we're having now. So yeah, we're really proud of being able to come together and address a number of issues and a couple different audiences too, because clearly she's a youngin', she's a Gen Z, so we're straddling.
Well, I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
So your brand heat on social media is like sick. Helen just sent me like this really awesome looking email. Like the design aspect of it is just like incredible. Like, who are you working with here? Like, and like, is it like one team that is like the design side and one team that is like the awareness and deployment? Because like, for instance, I just started this founder brand stuff and I don't have time. I don't understand the organic social machine at all. So, and I don't have time to give it any attention except for like Monday mornings when my calendar's empty. So like, I'll get sent hooks, I'll write bullets, I'll record video, I'll put video on YouTube, and then people make it newsletter content, LinkedIn posts, like whatever. and then they know what to feed the machine when to like make it work, right? Like you're aware, like there's not a person in my world that I mention Kin and they don't say I've seen an Instagram ad or whatever on it, right? Like the brand recognition is like incredible. So like how did that happen? Like who are you working with? You know what I mean? Like my brand doesn't have that recognition. Like how did that manifest itself? Was that a priority? Was that like a goal? Like what?
Definitely. For sure. Yeah. I mean, think about who you're up against at that time, right? Like we're up against duels, in terms of alcoholic, non-alcoholic options. So for those of you who for the listeners who aren't familiar, we did launch Grassroots in 2017. So commercially 2018. So we've been at this for about 5 years. And what I noticed 5 years ago, before the term sober curiosity was a thing, before anyone gave a shit about this from a cultural perspective, we needed to make this option aspirational for people. We had to make it sexy. We had to play where people were conversing. And where people were conversing was Instagram, especially then. It's evolved, and we've since evolved our strategy a little bit. But the point being that we wanted to go as deep as we possibly could on a narrow strategy where we knew our target audience was playing. And how did we know? We threw up some test ads early on, not your grandma's mocktails.
Yeah.
With a really chic ad, somebody dialing a number, dial here to find out more. And that was it. I mean, we did over $3 million in sales our first year, just off of pulsing little mysterious, sexy ads and content to storytell around how cool it is to think about this in a new way, to have functional ingredients at our disposal that had never been thought to show up at the bar or be offered at the bar, right? And so we knew we were doing something revolutionary. We had no idea if anyone would care. But
like, did you have like the sheen of the brand from day one? Like, did it all look awesome, or were these original things like sort of like weird together and provocative in a different way?
Yeah. So here's what I did do. The smartest thing I did was partner with a group called Row & Co. It was an all-women-led, all-women creative agency that had only ever done fashion and beauty. And I said, I want the sleekest, sexiest, chicest brand. I don't have any money. I literally have enough money for a logo.
People love that bitch. It's like, I want the best thing you could possibly give, and I don't have any money to give you.
I said, I have no money, maybe for a logo and a label, but I promise you, this is going to blow up, and I'm going to give you all of my business to launch this. Yeah. And so we did a preamble. They took me on, which that's such a no-no for a branding agency that's worth their salt. They want to do a full brand ID for you. That is the right way to build a brand. But they trusted me. They knew I had a vision. They knew I had a story. And they honored me. They brought in a freelancer. My friend Rebecca, who was running the company at the time, is just also a visionary. She had some beverage experience before with Budweiser. But she just knew we saw each other in this vision and got a banging prototype together. And from that, I slapped together a photography team. We did one campaign that lasted us the first 6 months, frankly. Got some funding off of that, early data. And then I gave them a $200,000 campaign. Yeah. Not long after that. So,
and then, what about the stuff that's inside the can? Who made that? Did Matt make that? Did you make that?
I know. So it's a brainchild of my now husband, Matt Cobble, who is a co-founder of Soylent, right? So Matt already had this framework in mind of what does it take to create something that is run of the mill, basically, right? It was a protein shake for all intent and purpose, and bring it into the now and introduce it to an audience who never thought protein shakes were sexy.
Right.
Telling a new story, right, about nutrition, telling a new story about this futuristic world in which we don't need food. You literally only need this thing. So when I came to him with this concept of look, alcohol is on the was. It is such an archaic technology for getting high, for feeling good. Totally. I really want to create something. And I was thinking about it more as a stress reduction solution. I was focused on stress reduction. So adaptogens were my vibe. Using plants and herbs that were helping us to recalibrate lower cortisol. And for him, having come from Silicon Valley, this sort of tech world, he knew that nootropics were the future. And between the two of us, right, like thinking about the philosophy and how we needed to bottle it to appeal to multiple audiences and actually elicit an effect, we came up with this thing. Now, from a formulation standpoint, he's the voyeur. He's the one who's like, fuck it, let's put nicotine in there. Right. let's play with all these other never in a million years would have showed up in a beverage. Let's be non-discriminatory about this and just see what happens.
It doesn't have nicotine in it now, that doesn't.
No, it doesn't. No. One of the original formulations, he also put cannabis in there. And I mean, I was feeling like $1 million, but we knew that was too big of a hurdle to jump.
Yeah, just like whatever. Yeah.
We kept it pretty tame, but still functional.
And then like, I'm just trying to imagine where this actually happens. Like, what is it in a garage somewhere? Is it in like, are there places that you go to like do chemistry mixing?
Yes.
Like where
Very
does that?
Sophisticated. Yeah. And I would love for him to do a podcast just on this topic because he is just, what Matt always taught me was just,
hey, I think I can get him on.
Yeah. You know how to reach him.
Yeah.
But we had essentially a benchtop lab that he set up with some friends in the basement of his house in Seattle, literally.
Yeah.
And it was really impressive. I mean, it had all the things that we needed just to come up with something that we could test ourselves. And then, you know, there were some labs and partners that we worked with to make sure that, you know, we had the best of the ingredients at our disposal. We were working with nano emulsions and nanolipids, and there was some equipment that we needed for that as well. Yeah. But nothing can beat an actual proper lab. You know, at the end of the day, we were very lucky, you know, to get in front of some of the world's best nutraceutical firms. It didn't happen overnight. Trust me, it was a confluence of having a great story, having traction, and knowing who to ask. You know?
Yeah, sweet. I did not know that. You know, and it kind of like, I would say like Helen and I wish we hung out more with you guys. When we do hang out, I feel like there's very little for the amount of time that you and I and, you know, Helen as well, like spend working, like relative to the amount we talk about it when we're together, at least you and me. I don't know, maybe talk about it more with Helen or something. I don't know. But like, I don't know why that is, but it's just not something that strikes me as something that like I want to be talking. I don't even know. But like, I know just from what limited conversations we have that the fundraising journey in particular, sort of with this recent market turn, has been tumultuous for you. Like, can you take us on like a brief roller coaster on like what that was sort of like? And I remember also talking to Matt. He's like, yeah, I was doing it. And then like all of a sudden they're on like this VC journey that I didn't want to be on with Soylent. And I'm just like, I can't emotionally take it anymore. Yeah. So like, what does that mean? I mean, I really don't even know because like I've been a bootstrapper. I've watched people do it. Apparently Matt's like, it's way worse in the beverage space because it's like intrinsically like a boring space and the venture people don't get that and like all this, you know? So like,
well, it takes long. It takes a really long time. And I think when you have VCs that historically have invested in tech, and that was our challenge, right? We couldn't get a single beverage investor to back us in the beginning because who knew what was going to happen with this product? Right. It was very much an innovation product. The people that wanted to back us were the people that trusted Matt to bring an innovation to market. They thought, oh, there's this cute girl next to him that, you know, knows how to market things. That's fun. Yeah. Right. So that worked in our favor. Right. And I think that was great. I mean, we're forever grateful for those folks that took a chance on this. The inherent challenge being that, so what were they investing in? They were investing in
and can you just, what stage was that? Like, what did you raise? A few $1 million after you sold some whatever? Like, what are the milestones? I don't know if publicly or not, whatever. What can you sort of...
It was literally idea and a model. We had an idea, a model, and like a benchtop sample that we would take from the rooms. And you know, they were stoked, and they understood the opportunity from a macro perspective. Yeah, people are drinking less, you know, and it took another year for the World Health Organization to say, and by the way, they're drinking less. Like, this is not a fad. This is a trend. They've been drinking less for 10 years. Yeah. And 10% of the world's drinkers have essentially disappeared overnight, what it feels like. So where is that market share going? But the VC roller coaster, it starts off fine, right? Like you're taking and you're excited and it's all well and good because you have the money to experiment, to play, and you have people that trust you in that. It starts to get dicey when people need quick returns. Not to say those initial investors do. I will say they've supported us the whole way through. But when you get people excited tangentially from that sort of core group of people that are used to getting returns in 3 to 4 years, because these tech companies are just like selling like hotcakes, right? Like that's the exit schedules are just so much more accelerated than a beverage, which can take 10 years to build.
Totally.
10 years and, $100 million. It's just a very expensive endeavor. So I think we were lucky to get the innovation out. We were lucky to be able to prove it in mass. But then we had, the sort of tailspin of COVID and a global pandemic changing the dynamic of our business model, changing, as you mentioned.
And what does that mean? Were you like more physical and then you had to go fully D2C? Like, what is changing the dynamic of our business?
No, the plan was always launch online, activate our early adopters, make sure that we had data to support where we would then go from there to become a grown-up beverage business. Right. You got to sit on shelf, right? Yeah. So can this online data, can the e-com data guide us towards where to live and play, whether that's a physical market, like, an actual geo-targeted market like LA or New York, or the Midwest, whoever knows, or is it, nationwide natural, exactly, natural food stores, or do we expand beyond beverage? I mean, we left ourselves super open, just as we did with the first formulation. That was totally feasible before we had a pandemic, and then everyone came online, right? Like we were digitally native. We were ready that year to expand into our, retail strategy and wholesale strategy. And the world said, you're going to triple down on what you're doing well online. Yeah. That worked in 2020. In 2021, we were like, no, this is our tipping point. We got to get out in retail. And the market just had a major slowdown. So
the market for what?
Everything. I mean, to have like a really smooth transition off of e-com, right? When it was the most expensive environment of all time. I mean, starting at the tail end of 2020 with the election. Yeah. As started getting out of hand. You had the iOS 14 update. You no longer could we retarget, which was really important for our business.
Hey, I have a great product for this. It's called Meta Persistent Audiences.
Sign us up.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. Because for us, we really need that second, third, fourth touch point. It's like, you think Kin is sexy? Awesome. It's also really functional. It's also really effective at providing you something, that you're going to want to come back to every day. Yeah. It's hard to tell that story in one ad, right? And so we knew with the amount of brand awareness we had gotten to after 3 years on the market, we needed to sit on shelves. And we knew that based on the velocity data that we were seeing at some of our retailers. That was a steep climb in 2021 with supply chain delays, a number of things. But Kin was still sexy enough to garner a ton of VC interest, especially towards the end of the year. People were interested in what the Bella numbers were. They were interested now to see where we were expanding from like an offering perspective with the new SKUs we'd launched. So the roller coaster started really getting wonky. We sort of did that 360, upside down spinaroo earlier this year when we started talking to a private equity firm. We thought, well, this is our time.
Can you disclose what is like a revenue range when you're like playing between these worlds? Like when does a PE shop start being like, you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, the venture is like, I have an idea. And then you launch it, like maybe whatever, some seed, I don't even know what it is. But like, when does is it like $10 million, $20 million? Like when does like a D2C founder think I should start talking to PE people?
Hopefully never. Literally. Yeah. I hope never. Because what should happen at that point, the traditional, and mind you, we do everything in a non-traditional fashion, so I'll tell our story, but it's not the standard. Yeah. By the time a private equity firm is looking to acquire you because they know they have a plan for you and you want to exit, you should, by that point, especially in this environment, be a profitable business and you can sell to whoever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing with, and mind you, there are some great PE firms out there, and what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll say, great, you've built a great business. Revenues are such, or margins are such, that we know with our network, we can operate this business and take it to the 10th degree, to the 10x what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no real magic number. I think it really is, maybe a few size of all the deals. The average is like 30 million in revenue.
Yeah.
We weren't.
Yeah. So like 2025, you're starting to think about, I'm not a capital intensive found, right? Like, I know when the numbers start getting, like, there's like a valuation hurdle at 10 million. There's a valuation hurdle, or there's like a revenue multiple hurdle at 10 and at 20, and then maybe at like 50 or whatever. Like, but I also have to have like 50 employees and 30 million in revenue to get that, right? So like, there's these like kind of things that I know I'm going for to like sort of be able to relax a little bit, be like, okay, there's at least some amount of tangible value here. It's not just like, people are going to just like shut me down because like, all of these reasons they love to tell you to fuck off or whatever. Yeah. So like 20 to 25 million, you're starting to think, what are my options? Like I now have the ability to explore other avenues than just like people who take mega flyers on crazy ideas.
Right. And mind you, I feel confident I can share the CPG numbers, and I'll say that it's a much longer tail.
Yeah.
Typically, right? You typically don't have a business that's doing 10 million their first year, 50 million second year. I mean, that is on your way to unicorn status, right?
Yeah.
Like, and even that is a question mark. When we started our business, the sort of the golden boy of Beverage was that Bai coconut water brand, BAI.
Mm-hmm.
And they sold for north of $1 billion. That being said, the company that acquired them has not been able to scale that and grow that 10x. So when deals like that started to happen and then quickly fizzle, that ruined the opportunities and changed the dynamics for all beverages going forward. Add to that what's happening with the market. It really, for us to sell our business for 3x revenue, 10x EBITDA. I mean that's a huge win. And I'm telling you, that's not $1 billion, right?
Right.
So, but it's providing value for your shareholders and your investors, and it's giving you the runway to keep evolving the business, whether you want to be involved in it or not. I think most founders at this stage are like, all right, cool, I did the damn thing. I'm going to wipe my hands and go and do something else.
Totally. Is that how you are feeling? Are you actively trying to find someone to do this and move on? I
think for me, and this, I just had 2 kids in under 2 years.
Yes.
My priority is my family. Mm-hmm. And so
don't blame me for that.
If I can provide value for my family, and that's not just financial, but it's also my time.
Right.
My time, my energy, my love. That's going to always be my priority. That being said, I'm not saying, if I separate the two and you ask me just about Kin, I have another 10 years of work to do on Kin.
Yeah.
In my opinion, right? Because I don't trust anyone else to take it where I think it can go.
Yeah. Like if it were set up the right way,
exactly.
You know what I mean? And like, I don't know whether this is going to resonate with you or not. Like I am having so much fun with this right now because my hope and optimism in the future has the trajectory of it over the last 3 or 4 months. It's exponentially higher than it was the previous 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
However, this is the second before I have like a 10x staffing thing that I'm doing. Right. So like
changes.
If I knew, and like, by the way, right now, this is more fun than any of us have ever had. Like, it's so great. It's working so well. Everybody's just like, this is amazing. But like, I would love to be able to preserve that energy. I think a lot of people that have been down the road that I'm about to go down would say there's a very low probability that you will preserve that energy by rapidly expanding your staff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. Like, in the right form, it would be amazing to keep doing it. If this thing starts beating on me instead of serving me, then my opinion of it is going to totally change.
And that's your answer, because at the end of the day, there are different size strategics, there are different size PEs with different, philosophies and different goals. And I think, should someone come to me tomorrow and say, hey, Jen, I'll buy you out for 10 million, but I still want you to stay on. We'll pay you $1 million a year. Yeah, I'm just throwing round numbers out there. But we'll
I
pay
like
you
those round numbers, by the way. Nice round. Is everybody listening? Investors, you listening?
Exactly. Those of you who have been calling me up recently, here's the deal. We'll pay you the X amount to stay on and help us continue evolving this and building this into the future. But we're going to operate it. We're going to blow it up. We're going to stress about who to pay and how to pay them.
Yeah.
So that, to me, dream, right?
Totally.
I didn't get in this.
Yeah, you're not like the CEO anymore.
Yeah.
So I somehow convinced this guy to join us, and he's working into a full-time, probably co-CEO or COO role or something like that, which I didn't even know was kind of possible for me at this point, just because no real person joins a you know what I mean? And this guy built these massive B2B data companies, and I'm not kidding you, everybody who interacts with him is just he is the savior. He just, every question that we have about this next phase, he has an answer for. Yeah. And he's interviewing 5 people a day for us. He's providing insight into what is good and bad about hiring people in different countries versus each other, right? Product knows everything about it. Building engineering, or the only reason that I'm doing this is because I have so much trust in this guy's proven track record. And I just feel what you were just saying is, if you could be in the role that I am now, doing podcasts for your customers and posting on LinkedIn and I haven't interviewed anybody, by the way. We have extended 20 offers to people in sales and marketing, customer support. I haven't interviewed a single person. I've hired 4 unrelated to the rapid expansion that are taking things off of my plate. Yeah. But that, kind of like Bella Hadid though, I don't know if it could be recreated. I reached out with this guy looking for a mentor, and then he just started talking, and I was I see these advisory roles on your LinkedIn. What does that look like? Is there any way that you could just tell me what to do? That's all I need. I just don't know how to do this next thing. I am looking at the companies that you've done this for. You've taken them from this stage to unicorns 5 times. Can you just tell me which way to run? Yeah. And I would have never done this. I would have kept bolting on lone wolves and just had this cash business or whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel the reason why is because I'm just deathly afraid of exactly the situation that you're describing. Just I don't, you know what I mean? Who do I, for instance, it's when should we get a financial controller? Right? I'm what does a financial controller do? I have no idea, it's just things and that, I think you summarized it so elegantly. It's the decision on who to pay and what to pay.
Yep.
It's just the whole thing, right? And if you do it right, it creates this really beautiful virtuous cycle. And if you do it wrong, it's just, you're whacking people once a year. And I've been on that side of it a couple times. And then this time we'll see what happens. But I just can't believe the type of people that are wanting to join us and help out. So it's amazing. So
I love it. I mean, it's a testament to building a great product and asking. It's the same thing we said about the formulation, building a great product and knowing who to ask what, right? It's if you don't have that or you don't try, it's uphill. It's uphill the whole way. And hiring the wrong people, I mean, you've been there, I've been there.
Oh my gosh.
It's not just the financial expense.
It's just so,
it's draining,
It's just so it's just so debilitating. And nothing against the people, right? It's just accidentally putting the wrong person in the wrong role.
No, it's my bad.
That is it. Right.
Mine.
Yeah. And the agony of dealing with it, right? So we can wrap up quickly. How much time elapsed between the birth of your first child and your first work call? I love this.
God. 6 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty fresh. Pretty fresh.
Yeah.
But so 6 weeks early or something, just like out of the, I mean.
Yeah, no one was ready for her to come. Right. My first, and least of all myself, because I was in the midst of a deal. Actually, this was the WME deal backing the Bella partnership. And they didn't find this out until about a year and a half later. They're like, Jen, you need to stop. So we would have waited, but there was no waiting. It's like, who else is going to take the call? So sometimes you just got to get the damn thing done. And I thought I was going to be that mom that was like maternity leave or die, you know? Totally. But the reality is, in the position that I'm in and the way that I feel about this work, it all goes to the same place, right? All this hard work is for her.
Right.
It's the rocket, So it's like, why, if it's not killing me, which frankly it's not, I have a lot of good help. I need to just stay present, and that's my lifeline, and I provide value to her when I'm energized and I'm in the pocket, and so that's kind of my MO. I know that's not a very popular opinion, for sure.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's honestly like either way, it's just so every life and every situation is just so unique. It's like, what's best for you. Yeah. The problem is when you don't, and you're conflicted about it, and it's like causing all sorts of tension in all of these different relationships in your life. Yeah. So wrapping it up, one marketing tip that you write in a billboard for everyone to see, being the cute chick that markets stuff, according to these VCs.
One marketing tip. Holy moly. Find your people.
I love that one.
I mean, it sounds so rudimentary, but if you don't, everything you're doing is totally jacked. Like, it does not matter. You can have the most beautiful campaign. You can have the perfect video, freaking 3D Bitcoin hologram. Yeah. If it's not being targeted at the right person, what is the point?
Yeah. The 3 rules of direct mail. The list is the most important. The offer is the second most important. The third is creative, and it's a distant third.
Yeah. It's so true.
Love that. Okay. Final 5. Favorite book.
Oh, God, I have so many. It's so funny. I have this one in front of me right now. The Pocket Thomas Merton. Let's go with that. This is a good one.
The Pocket Thomas. What is it? What is the essence of it? Pocket Thomas Martin.
Spiritual guidance, inspired by the Shambhala.
All right.
I will say the go-to. I think the one book that I gift often is the Bhagavad Gita. And it seems like a spiritual book, but I swear to you, it's also a business book.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Somebody gave that to me. One of my employees, like 7 or 8 years ago, this guy, Sean Kalish, gave me it. And I didn't read it cover to cover, and I needed to. I'm going to read it now.
It's a how to do life book. One of the biggest tenets from that is probably good marketing advice too. It's like, know thyself before you perform action. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as know your people, but it's about knowing yourself. And I think that's half the battle as well.
Indeed. Person, I have CEO here, but like person that you're following that you think is like a person of interest to you, like a figure that is influential on your consciousness.
There's 2 people. One, Dr. Andrew Huberman, who's a neuroscientist at Stanford, has incredible, if you don't follow him, I highly recommend it. It's always with him food for thought that's fully backed by science.
Great podcast on alcohol, by the way.
There you go. Yes. I'm so happy that he did that.
3 hours. Just and there's not a good thing to say about it. And like the scientifically bad stuff is so fascinating. Yeah. And like, man, like if you the interesting thing to me was chronic is way less frequent and way less quantity to have negative consequences than anyone thinks. Like even drinking a couple times a week, your cortisol levels are way higher than if you drink once every 3 months, right? Like,
so hard to recover from.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is that it's not, he's like me. He doesn't want to be your mom in the corner telling you what to do. He's just telling you what's what, and you can do what you will with it. And then S.J. Simmons, who I think is somebody who I would love for her to be more vocal about her story. I mean, she shared her story, but she's based in Austin. She used to be the COO of Bumble. Has an incredible story, tons of fortitude. I mean, she's a CEO of a company called Found now. And
Randall works for her.
Yeah, exactly. She's super inspiring. I love her. And she happens to be a Kin investor.
Yeah, cool. We know you're married. We know you have kids. You live in Austin, Texas. Sure. And favorite vacation you've ever been on?
Oh my gosh. I mean, Matt and I just went to Charleston. It sounds like it's just Charleston, anybody can access it. But I feel like it is such a secret. It's like a little hidden gem. It's so charming, so much history.
Yeah.
It's got it all. I really love that trip. And then I think there was one trip when I was a kid. My parents and I went from Morocco to the south of Spain. And it's just one of the most memorable trips I've ever been on. And it was just the three of us. And we always refer back to that trip. So there's something magical about it. The scenery, the food. Yeah. We'll try to recreate it for my 40th because you could actually take a train across to Gibraltar.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And the visuals are just stunning. Like, it's just next level. So we'll see if it's
in.
Cool.
Pack these 8-week-old babies up and let's go.
Let's do it. Crank it.
Well, this was awesome. I mean, I just am so grateful that you took the time to share all this stuff. It's just such interesting stuff for my community, which is people like you, that I'm trying to do this for. So
thanks for thinking of me. And for anyone who has follow-up questions, I'm Jen of Kin on Instagrams. Hit us up, and Kin Euphorics if you want to check out the drinks.
Amazing. Thank you so much.